Hello everyone, good morning. This is Tracilyn, and it is day 2 of me going here in Dayton, Ohio to stop by some places that I have done videos or visited when I first came out here. Because within the next year, supposedly, I will be relocating to another location. Probably still here in Dayton, but obviously if I run into situations like I currently am living in, then I would probably look for another apartment in a whole nother area. So I wanted to come here and visit some of the places. And I would just simply like to say, look at the scenery. I like that morning fog. Does it show up? One of the greatest disappointments, I would have to say, in my life is coming to a city and a state where you spilled your heart out to somebody and it was in conversation that somebody was going to be there for you and do things with you, for you, or what have you. And at the end of the day, in time, to learn that there's actually people, whether they're military, secret agents, FBI, who have via satellite technology, and they literally get into people's heads. They try to wreck people's relationships. They try to put fear into you or other people. I met a lot of people that I realized that throughout my life, whether it's my own personal family, things that happened to me as a kid growing up, that there was always some kind of weird force of people who have extreme measures of technology, and most likely we have a chip in our head, and they can literally harass us our whole entire life. And at any given time that we're doing something that they do not like, and they do not like people who are loving, and they do not like people who are inspired and driven to do things in support of life, not just for themselves but others, they would do whatever that they feel they can do privately, secretly, in an attempt to wreck everybody's endeavors. I'm not the only one who goes through it. So this was one of the more beautiful places that I have come when I first came out here to Dayton. It was brought here by somebody in the community who I called my daddy. Some of you may know her as Susie. And it was my opportunity to meet a lot of other girls in the community, cross-dressers, transvestites, drag queens, people in the gay community. And I made one of my music videos out here. This was one of the places that I was brought on the first few months. Was it in 2009, or did it only happen in 2010? But we came out here and I remembered the drive, and I remember seeing the landscape. And thinking to myself how beautiful it was. I wish my head would have been more clear at that time. I would say that clarity is more there, and I understand more so now that not just mine, but a lot of people's psychological challenges, what the United States government has declared, or the psychiatric ward within the United States has declared is what we perceive as disabilities, is really truly people with technology that are making it very difficult for our thought process, which causes bipolar, major depression, personality disorders of all kinds, schizophrenic, hysteria. Barefoot. I do not have any fingernail polish on. I am as natural buff as you can imagine. I just want to walk down here a little bit. I don't want to make too lengthy of a video. I just wanted to be able to walk here. I don't know like where they actually set off the airplane. I'm assuming the flags have something to do with it. You can probably see a video online, or you could come out here to Huffman Prairie in Dayton, Ohio, and have the opportunity to visit the field, the flying field, and get to learn a little bit about the history while you're here. Here's one of the signs. I will not read it all to you, but it's follow the flight path. And then it has visuals of evidently how they were flying while here. I can imagine for the ones who were here at the time of them finally getting it up in the air, or even in the process of it, that had to be quite exciting. You know, I used to, when I came here, I was thinking of that today, this morning, of what that must have been like for entertainment-wise, people getting to gather around, and the excitement and enthusiasm of seeing people working on an invention, and can they get it up in the air? What do you think the conversation was about? What do you think was a typical conversation amongst the others who were viewing? Do you think they believed? Do you think they believed it's going to happen someday? Or do you think, like most people, the nature, the simple nature in humanity, do you think they were naysayers, saying it's never going to happen? They're wasting their time. Those two boys are fools. They're not even men. They're like kids goofing off. Is that it? You can imagine, and I've realized being out here in Dayton, Ohio, for the first time in my life, when I came out here, people did not know my past accomplishments. I shared it with Susie. But I would say that if people aren't currently seeing it, number one, they don't respect what you achieved and what you did in previous years, and they most certainly will not believe that you can do it today. In other words, I will tell you that I've realized that a majority of people are filled up with asshole, and I'm shocked. One thing that I am definitely certain of is I don't regret being who I am. And I don't have no regret in the things that I've done because I have heart. But I would say today, it would take a lot of unique circumstances for me to give two shits about another person and what they're going through. Because I have truly realized that when you have a really good heart, more so or not only will you attract the military, who can't stand people with good hearts, because a majority of them are crude son of a bitches. They protect your freedom, right? They fight for it, do they? Yeah. Let me tell you something. If you ever hear a military man say, we fight for your rights, your freedom, no, they're full of shit. There's one, according to Christian faith, that people can't stand, who is Jesus Christ, who is God in human form, who gave his own life so that we may live and be free. Only it's not understood. We have piss poor Christian people, Catholic people, right, still wearing sheets, still doing things from antique years, meaning way back. For some people it's great, for some people not so great. If I did not have a driving force of what was in my life during the times of my necessity, I would have never came to Christ in the manner I did. I often realize that since I've been living out here in Ohio, if I would have been born and raised out here, number one, I wouldn't have been all that intelligent. I wouldn't have been all that intelligent. And two, I don't even know if I'd be alive today, because there is a dominancy of cruelty that is here in Ohio. Whenever I attempt to do something that is favorable for life, I realize that the complete opposite is present. It would have been really nice and swell for me to be able to say, and I could say, all the wonderful things that have come about. But the truth of the matter is, I can say nice things and I can say not so nice things, but the bottom line is, the truth of the matter is, I have went through a lot of hell to be standing here today. And it didn't have to turn out that way. It did. And a lot of it did out of lack of respect for my personal life from other human beings that had the ability to say, I get where you're at and I can assist you. For instance, in 2007, I started to see a psychologist. I paid her $140 a visit. Okay? I knew nothing about being trans. The Christian community failed to teach me Christ-like looks even more beautiful than they are. And they're cowards to let their hair grow out, to wear very femme-loving lingerie and clothing in public. Okay, especially if they have penises. They try to condition people to believe that it's a suit and tie, or it's, hey, let's dress like everybody else. Only, hey, David Ashcraft, everybody else is lost. Why would you dress like the lost? God cautions us about clothing ourselves appropriately. So why wouldn't you wear what you wear in truth instead of dressing down? Because they'll say that. Bands like Bon Jovi are notorious for shit like that. Dress down. Dress down to their level. I guarantee you that. That is common in music business. That is common in the Christian community. Dress down to their level. Dress like them. Be like them. Okay, that's what works. Well, let me tell you something. A majority of all of us are lost, psychologically. And one of the reasons is because when you go into a church, they're not telling you, hey, this is psychological. You got a knowing of what you think you know, and it's gathered up in many ways of what you went throughout your life. But there's much more than that, and the Bible is scripture that is an assistant tool in leading us into our own personal truth. And what is that? It's the truth within your brain of words, all gathered, of things that you really want to do and be in this world. Well, I won't want to say do or be. How about this? See, I'm lost too, so don't take every word I say as truth. You want to be fulfilled. There's a truth inside of your brain, and it wants to be fulfilled. And your hands and the feet, and how you serve the world around you, is to use your hands and your feet to fulfill the truth within you. It's your psychological. But all this confusion is, learn to forgive people, learn to serve people, learn to forget about yourself and be more focused on everything else. Only everything else is extraordinary. It's huge. And I have learned that the truth is, you want to stay focused on you. You want to stay focused on yourself. You will not go through this life at all. I didn't. Maybe you will. You will not be fulfilled. And at any given time, as proven to me, I came out here the first time, I was raped. I was chanted over. I was dominated in some ways. I had no place to go. I'm listening to Joyce Myers. I don't know what to do. I've been crying out to hospitals. I've been crying out to psychologists. I don't know how to take care of myself in a world that won't let me work for a livable salary. Tell me I can get Social Security. Tell me I could get welfare. Tell me there are other ways of getting food, like pantries that I know nothing about. I wasn't taught this in school. I wasn't given a list of resources in your time of need. This is what you do. This is where you go. We live in a faulty land called America. That is an idea of a whole lot of corruption, of enslaving masses to whatever it is that they want the general masses to be enslaved to. this becomes very stressful and complicated for people that for some reason inside of them, they cannot submit to ridiculousness. For instance, just knowing that the government claims that they are for the general masses of people, whether they want to accept it or not, are lost. We are lost, psychologically. Because there's a whole lot of information we've been taught and told and shared with each other. It's all over the place. And if we're not careful, we start to believe a lot of different things that are furthest from the truth. For instance, do you really believe that commercial airliners and other airplanes can just go off of the right beat flyer in a very short time? All these planes are all over the place? Do you not think that somewhere else on the earth there is a land that we are not allowed to be on, heavily surveillanced, and we are considered to be the fools of the earth, where they use technology to go through people's heads to introduce things like airplanes, after they've already been pre-advanced, whether up there or somewhere else on what we call Earth. So in other words, there's somewhere else that is far more advanced, and they introduce it to us through others who may be thinking they're inventing something. But the truth of the matter is, we all know what? All great blessings come from God. And what is God? Do you know what God is? The Bible says, in the beginning there was God, and God was Word, and Word was God. Now don't take my word for it. If God was Word, G-O-D, there's a whole lot of words. You start to realize that it's all psychology. They leave very crucial things out of school because they say it's best that we stay focused elsewhere. We can take care of the rest of it stuff at home. Only they're taking us away from a home and forcing us to learn this stuff, and then we go through life and we learn that masses of people are having a struggle just knowing what cross-dresser, transvestite, and all the other things are. And we're nervous if we both have penises to be kissing each other in front of others. Oh my gosh, don't do that. We'll be considered gay. Only the Bible lets us know as male and female in heaven, there is no gay. It also lets us know in more detail, because most people say, well, that's in heaven, up there. But heaven isn't up there. Heaven is psychological. It's what you convince yourself to believe, is what I believe. It's you convince yourself. You're convinced. There is an absolute truth, but will you ever know the absolute truth? Or will you ever be on a quest to have a relationship with truth in hopes of being fulfilled? And doesn't it sound right? Healthier? Better? Ah, there is no male or female, sweetheart. It doesn't matter what body part we have. Who you love is who you love. Who you want to kiss is who you want to kiss. It sucks to be somebody who's very confident with their self in a world where everybody's still hiding in the closet. I did my job as a human being, and I tell you what, I got my butt kicked in many ways. So I don't want to go on speaking about this, but I wanted to visit some of the places. I may be back here again. I was thinking about doing another music video out here differently this time. And I'm working on a project. I've been being harassed, okay, by Fed agent type people, secret services. They go through my email accounts. They delete email accounts. They mess with my phone so it intermits and I cannot talk to people a lot of times. That's them. I have a rash, freckles, burn marks, whatever it is, on my body. I have markings. They try to disfigure my skin, okay? That's what they do to people. That's how I noticed I was starting to have a lot of moles in my back, upper back. That comes from being electrocuted. That's from electricity, direct energy weapons. That's because there's a chip here. And I haven't really taken the time to go to a doctor because I don't believe there's a doctor in the United States that will remove it for me. Why? Because they're selfish and they're scared little pussies. Okay? So I'm being harassed continuously. They are always playing some kind of weird videos into my head. Okay? So anytime you have a dream or something like that, that's not generated from you. If you ever have dreams or had a dream that is artificially inseminated by people who use via satellite technology, you don't have to believe it. It's real. I am totally shocked that I was raised in a manner that said that I've come to a place that I really respect and love military people, police officers. The government, it was not an interest of mine. It's not about like or not like. It's not an interest. I always figured that if I stay focused on life, I feel that it's invisible to me. I don't pay attention to it. It's not disrespectful. It's how I truly feel. Since I started my music project, I was warned about this years ago, that when you start to do something in music or entertainment, they, whoever they are, try to suck you into political, religion, and all kinds of gross stuff, Jerry Springer-ish kind of drama. I realized that while I'm working on my project, which consumes a lot of my energy, they continuously torment me by making my computer intermit, my speakers intermit, so they're not a continual play. In other words, they try to keep me in a high level of stress. I have markings on my body from being having direct energy weapons pointed at my head, and whatever else frequencies you hear, like a shh pointed at your head. Okay, they play messages continuously that have anything to do with grotesque, death-like, what I would perceive as that kind of conversation continuously playing in your head. They aim it. I'm assuming the chip is in your upper left head, the back kind of, but upper left. Maybe you could feel around there. Is there like a bump? I would say that that's most likely a chip, and the reason I say that is because when I was like 8 years old in 1980, I was a little kid, just came back from Good Samaritan Hospital in London, Pennsylvania, where I stayed overnight, and I remember shortly after, I ended up talking to my mother, and I asked her in the kitchen to look at my head, and I asked her what that was. And she told me I may have accidentally bumped myself on my headboard or something like that. It's just a little bump. It might be a mole or something. You'll be all right. Don't worry about it. Say a prayer. It'll be okay. Okay, so time moves on. And then things start to happen to you when you're in 2012, when I'm on the streets here in Dayton, Ohio. And it definitely comes clear to me, because of the things I was going through, that I was on some kind of program that they have to target individuals for whatever reasoning they have. They try to cast fear into you in many ways, and try to let you know they can see through your eyeballs, they can hear through your ears, okay, all your senses. I'm convinced that after meeting somebody in Derby, New York, they have something in their chest, connects them via satellite, and literally their mind can be inside of another human being's mind. They can guinea pig throughout anybody they want. Very frustrating. So I continue to live because I'm convinced that they try to get people to kill themselves. That's why I had the problem at the bridge. Though they tried to tell me that the person that was arrested also had a trail of doing other criminal activity, and then he was released or what have you, after being in prison for a while. They have a video footage online of him in court. I would have to say that after everything I've been through with a cop placing money in my hands and calling me guilty in York, Pennsylvania, and going through that, I would have to say that most likely that person was an undercover. And they tried to do a Craigslist sting operation to get the escorts to go away. In other words, to just go away. They don't like escorts. They don't like adult entertainers. In their opinion, everybody's a prostitute. When the Bible's talking about prostitutes, folks, we're confused. God is not talking about those who exchange sex for money, okay? God's talking about anybody who goes against their own heart, their own psychological heart, which is the truth within inside yourself that you're unfamiliar with, I'm unfamiliar with. We have ideas. There's more truth there. When you crack the soil in your psychological, there's more truth to come. And it's glorious because it's from God. It's a gift. It's your life. And this is the military. That is satanic, by the way. They do idolize Satan. They're the ones who are usually trying to dominate with the fact that they're going to depopulate the earth. Did you ever do yourself a favor? Don't fall for the fact that we're overpopulated in America. Get in an airplane and fly across the United States and see how much land is available with nobody living there. Through their devices, they kind of hurl, what would you call that? Where they raked in a whole lot of humans to kind of live in a geographical area to them that they can monitor, surveillance, manipulate, try to control, instead of people living as they choose to. We're not living in context to the Bible, where everything of the earth is God's creation, and we should be servants to our own hearts, and this is what's best for humanity around us, and we are to share. Instead, they brainwash us to be slaves and work and pay taxes. When you pay taxes, rest assured, there's a verse in Scripture that says what? Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. You think an intelligent person would flip them a coin and say that belongs to you, government? Intelligence would say the government doesn't own anything. So when you see signs and the government has it posted, the government doesn't have a right to enforce a law that is not God's. So they're artificial, they're man-made. Anything man-made is not God's creation, and it's not in alignment with truth. They do not have the right to blockade. So where do we go from here? Now that the battery is going out? I would say, since I've come here, life is much different for me in the fact that I am no longer in relationship to one person at all, that I came out here to Ohio in hopes of being able to get my needs met specifically and have a beautiful life. I am alone, working on my music project. After listening to Joel Osteen for years and believing stupid stuff, I have truly learned that it is best that one stays focused on their own thoughts, surrenders to the truth within. It doesn't matter what other people think. You're going to need a Christ-like attitude, because people can be very cruel and very mean. Is that the same thing? We'll see in the future. I have more to talk about then, but not today. I just wanted to enjoy this place, and I have some other errands to do. So I'm getting ready to do that. I'm going to be testing my cell phone later on. It's a beautiful place. You should stop by if you like peaceful environments. There's a lot to see. I will not do a video tutorial on the land itself. But I'm here at Huffman Prairie, where I made Dayton, Ohio, USA twice. And I hope someday that I can come out here and just do a very basic video here in the field. Okay? Has nothing to really do with Huffman Prairie or Dayton or nothing like that. I don't think so. Just a song. My battery's running low. My car is way over there. And I think I'm running out of memory too. So I did not want to make long extended videos at this time. Love you, and I'm sure there's more video to come soon.